It certainly seems like Donald Trump is genuinely pushing for everyone to simply move on from the Epstein files. He appears to believe that by signing a bill to release those files, the entire issue will just dissipate. It's almost as if he's directing attention elsewhere, saying, "Look over here," while hoping the public forgets what's actually unfolding behind the scenes. The reality is, a significant cover-up is still taking place, particularly concerning the constant redaction of his name whenever it surfaces. And, quite ironically, it's his own associate, Dan Bongino, who has FBI connections, who is now exposing this whole predicament. Recently obtained emails confirm that this has been a calculated, long-term strategy, and it is clearly backfiring on Trump. Before delving into what Bongino specifically disclosed about this concealment, I want to reiterate a point made by Robert Garcia. He stressed that we must maintain pressure on the FBI and the Department of Justice because their primary objective seems to be getting us to simply put the entire matter out of our minds. He highlighted that the oversight investigation continues to move forward daily. With a law now officially in place, signed by the president, the DOJ is compelled to release these documents, which is absolutely vital for ensuring everyone's official accountability. There has also been a subpoena from the Oversight Committee compelling the release of various records, including those from the DOJ, and we have witnessed some positive movement with that over the last several weeks. This represents their next required step. Robert Garcia has been reminding everyone that a subpoena for these Epstein files existed before the most recent bill was passed through Congress. The Oversight Committee has consistently been pressing the Department of Justice and the FBI for a while to thoroughly investigate what Donald Trump has been doing to obscure the truth. Meanwhile, Trump seems to be attempting to reframe the story, suggesting that the release of the Epstein files is happening because he personally directed Republicans in Congress to act. But that assertion is simply inaccurate. The public pressure was simply too immense for him to sway Republicans otherwise. And if anyone, somewhat bafflingly, believes that the Republicans do not want more data to be made public, they should examine the recent actions by Eric Swalwell. Swalwell moved to subpoena Dan Bongino, who has played a central role in keeping the Epstein files shielded. The response from Jim Jordan was quite telling. So, there has been a significant amount of attention focused on the Epstein files recently, especially regarding how the documents are being managed. Dan Bongino found himself officially summoned to Congress to answer some detailed questions about this specific situation. If everything was completely transparent and there was genuinely nothing to conceal, one would assume that wouldn't pose any great difficulty. Ironically, Bongino, frequently known for his highly emotional outbursts on Fox, shared how difficult it is to work within his office compared to just being a podcaster. It appears he could benefit from a brief respite, yet the Republicans, strangely, blocked his chance to testify. Now, what was the real catalyst for all of this? Well, it is certainly tied to the flurry of leaked emails currently circulating. Not too long ago, an email surfaced showing Bongino was informed about the Trump administration's extensive redactions of Epstein files right on his second day in the position. At the age of 50, Bongino took a major leap into this role back in March after building his professional career as a pro-Trump podcaster, where he often passionately called for complete transparency regarding all documents concerning Jeffrey Epstein. But here is precisely where the narrative becomes more interesting. The Trump administration went through a rather lengthy and exhaustive effort to keep those particular files under wraps, including a frantic scramble by the FBI to redact a substantial amount of the information last spring. Fast forward a little, and Bongino seems to have subtly shifted his public stance. Just a month after that intense redaction period, he suddenly claimed the administration was merely being extremely cautious in order to appropriately protect Epstein's victims. He did not speak much about the files after that time, but recently published internal FBI emails clearly demonstrated that shortly after he officially joined the Bureau, Bongino was forwarded an email specifically about how the redactions were to be applied. Facing immediate questions about his exact level of involvement, Bongino finally released a statement, claiming the email was being blown way out of proportion. He tweeted that when he officially started his duties on March the 17th, the emails forwarded to him had actually been sent before he even physically stepped into his specific role. He insisted he simply wanted to gain a better understanding of what processes had been completed prior to his arrival and that it was a crucial priority for him. So, there are these emails that anyone can view, but they do not really provide specific details about what information has been meticulously redacted or what is actually contained within the files. It turns out that the internal communications, which were ultimately uncovered through a Freedom of Information Act request by Bloomberg, raise serious questions about Dan Bongino's specific role in what they referred to as the Special Redaction Project. The documents clearly reveal that for several months throughout the first half of 2025, the Bureau was in an extreme rush to prepare the Epstein-related records for eventual public release. They logged almost $1 million in overtime pay for staff. All of this happened because the administration was notably dragging its feet after initially promising to make all of the Department of Justice's Epstein files publicly accessible during the election campaign. Once Trump formally returned to the White House in February, he specifically put Attorney General Pam Bondi in direct charge of the entire situation. Bondi really ramped up the enthusiasm among his core supporters by falsely claiming that Epstein's client list was right there on her desk, easily readable. According to Bloomberg, FBI Director Kash Patel then dispatched approximately 1,000 agents to the Bureau's Central Records Complex in Winchester, Virginia, for what he termed the Epstein Transparency Project, or Special Redaction Project. Just between March 17th and March 22nd alone, the Bureau spent $851,344 on overtime wages. From January to July, they logged 4,737 overtime hours, with over 70% of that substantial effort occurring in March as agents worked late nights and extended weekends. Then, on May 10th, after apparently being completely aware of the intensive redaction process for almost 2 months, Bongino finally tweeted about all the downloaded child abuse material that they were diligently handling. He carefully mentioned that there were also victim statements requiring special protections. While he acknowledged the public's eagerness for immediate information, he emphatically insisted on following the proper protocol. But Bongino was aware of these critical redactions from literally his first day on the job, yet he didn't disclose anything for months. It seems completely clear that the primary focus was to thoroughly sift through the necessary documents, specifically tuning out anything that could potentially harm Trump's public standing or image. It is like the entire goal was to state, "We have meticulously examined everything. Now we can formally move on." If what Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino are saying holds any kernel of truth, they need to immediately dig much deeper into significant figures like Bill Clinton or others potentially involved. If we seriously think about the entire situation, it genuinely raises massive questions about precisely why the investigation was abruptly concluded so quickly a few months back when there certainly appeared to be much more information to thoroughly investigate. I mean, what exactly were they so busy redacting and scrubbing from the records if absolutely nothing new or damaging came out of that intensive effort? Logically, it forces you to wonder if they were intentionally attempting to hide Donald Trump's name, right? Here is exactly where we currently stand. Both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have publicly mentioned Trump being referenced in the Epstein files. There were also recent whispers about Trump intending to replace Dan Bongino, indicating that another deputy director is out there and potentially waiting. Maybe Bongino became a bit uneasy with the situation, or simply was not the most trustworthy person to rely on for completely removing Trump's name from this entire messy ordeal. It is abundantly clear that the ongoing cover-up is gradually being revealed piece by piece, and these highly descriptive emails are vividly painting a comprehensive picture of that continual and desperate effort. This administration frequently claims to be extremely tough on crime, but honestly, their actual actions suggest the precise opposite. Jasmine Crockett truly hit the nail on the head when she decisively called them out on this specific issue. It is a completely tangled web of deception, that much is certain. It is honestly quite difficult to believe how overly simplistic some people genuinely want to make the entire Epstein situation appear. Sure, at first glance, it may seem like only a couple of key individuals were expertly pulling the various strings, but with such extensive complexity involved, I cannot help but feel there is significantly more to the entire story, even right now. That is precisely what makes it so critically significant today. Sure, we can look back to the 90s, and it is clear that justice was largely absent for many years. But by simply brushing this off, we might just be deliberately keeping those same dangerous loopholes open, which means children and young women could potentially still be falling victim currently. Honestly, the entire topic just utterly disgusts me, and it is something I have regrettably come to fully expect with the current Trump administration. The secrets surrounding the Epstein files are vast, and it is not just the past decades that concern me most. I am intensely focused on understanding what truly transpired during Trump's first term and what specific cover-ups are happening even now. I am not simply after the core Epstein files. I want to personally see all the communications among those directly involved in the complete cover-ups. This is an important fight we are going to vigorously keep pushing forward. Every single day, we are going to continue discussing this vital issue. If you are fully behind this cause, you know exactly what to do. Hit that subscribe button, and if you've managed to make it this far in the video, drop a blue heart in the comments section below. Let's keep powerfully raising our voices and strongly fighting for what's right.